Good morning, good afternoon and good evening, and welcome back to Jamie Photography. So in this video we're going to talk about how to create the perfect image. Now of course perfection is part of the eye of the beholder at the end of the day, and we all see things very differently and we all have different views about how photography should be done. But what is important is that you're happy and you're proud of the work that you do. And if you are happy and proud of the work that you do, then in my words, I think you're enjoying the hobby and you're doing your photography very, very well. So for me, I consider this to be a near perfect image. I'm very happy about it. It was a trip to Tuscany down in Italy, and we stopped off on the way to see this beautiful meadow, and we were able to shoot the image and take this back and give us the opportunity to produce what I consider to be a near perfect image. We've got the good composition with the trees. We've got the rule of thirds applied for the horizon as well as the tree positions, and we've got beautiful color and depth in the image. So, this is sort of something that I'd be happy to put on my wall. But where did we start? Well, we started here with with a much sort of darker. This was a five image pano, pulling it together. The sun wasn't out particularly bright, but it was shot in RAW, so you always get the sort of color a bit lower. So this is where we started, and this is where we went to. So if you'd like to follow along and join me in editing this image, then you can download the original Pano RAW. I'll put that in the comments down below, a link down below. So feel free to do that. If you enjoy the video, please feel free to click like. That would be very helpful. And if you enjoy what I'm doing here on YouTube, and if you haven't already subscribed, it would be great for you to join me here with my adventure on YouTube. I'm having a great time, I must admit, so it's great fun. Okay, let's get started. So as you can see, I've already created a panorama using the Lightroom panorama function, bringing 5 images together. This was shot with an Olympus Micro 4/3 camera, but once they're combined together, we end up with quite a big picture itself. This is heading up towards 100 megapixels. So we're not going to denoise it because it's such a big image. If we use the denoise functions or use the luminance settings here, it will increase the file size. So I'm just going to use it as is. What we're going to do is go to crop first off and find a good crop position. So I'm just going to come in on the left slightly. We're going to bring the bottom up so it's just inside the ditch line, as you can see there, and then we're going to bring the top down and just into the top of the sky there. Now this is a bit too much of a pano, so I'm just going to pull this over this way. Now I want those trees on the rule of thirds. You can see that the rule of thirds is running on the horizon there, and really want the center of these trees. So I'm just going to pull it from this side so that the trees are exactly in that position. It makes for a good composition. So that to me looks pretty good. So we're going to hit return. So there we go. We've got the image itself. So just going to do some basic corrections for now. But what I will want to do to turn this into a perfect image is we need to tidy up a few of the little marks that are in the grass and maybe take out this sort of drain line here. So, and there's some people, I think, just hovering around. There's some people walking up there. So we'll sort that out as well. So just before we go over into Photoshop to do that, I'm just going to bring down the highlights a little bit here, open up the shadows just a little bit so we can see inside those trees. I'm going to just increase the vibrance, make the green pop and the blue pop. That looks very nice. And I think really let's just check our blacks and whites. So we're going to hold down the Option or Alt key, and we're just going to move the white slider so we can get to see where the whites are. So just back off just before the whites there, so about +38. And the same with the blacks, just going to drop the blacks down till some black starts to appear just where the trees are there. So that's fine. So we've got the full contrast, everything's inside the histogram. So I'm quite happy with that. We'll come back and do the final adjustments in a while. But what I'm going to do now is right click, edit in Adobe Photoshop. I'm using the beta version, but the standard version will work as well. And then what we're going to do is just going to pop over into Photoshop. There we go. And then we can use a number of the tools here to remove these items. Now the remove tool itself, if I right click on the spot healing brush tool, you'll see that the remove tool is selected there, and that is a very, very good tool for where you've got like this, I suppose you would call this a sort of a patterned background where it's relatively chaotic, but in fact it's quite plain. So therefore you can literally just click with the remove tool and take away anything there that you think it might be a little bit distracting. So I literally can just paint over those areas using the brush, the remove tool brush, and it literally will just remove in. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so we get a little bit closer so we can see some of the detail here. So you can see these little areas where we just needing to just correct it so we get that perfect image look. Now you can make your brush bigger or smaller by using the square brackets to the left of the return key, and then you can select just to go over the areas that you want to cover. Now, one thing I would recommend is you don't try to do lots of areas in one paint brush stroke. I mean, sorry. So you've got to just sort of do. Otherwise, you end up with. You can see there's a little bit of a line there where we cut across before. So we just need to break that up just a little bit. Just going to take out these little yellow flowers as well, just down there. And then it's a little bit rough along the bottom here. So again, you can just use the brush to just take out those edges. Make the brush bigger and smaller to suit the things that you want to remove. So just popping through there. Just going to go over this bit here. There we go. Just take that out. So we just got a nice edge that's not distracting. I think that's the important thing. So so let's just hold down the space bar to move. So I'm going to work my way up here. So we're just going to remove these little marks, no blemishes at all. And I know you might say, well, that's natural. That's the way it looked. And I agree with you. And if you want to have a natural image, then don't change too much. You know, it's up to you. It's your image. You can choose to add or remove as much as you like within the image. And what I'm trying to achieve here is an almost perfect image where we don't see any real blemishes, any marks or anything around. Now, I do personally find using the remove tool it's quite relaxing. I can sit for hours just taking out little bits and pieces, and I find it very therapeutic to do this. So I do enjoy it very much. So. But to just speed things up a little bit for you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to take out all the little blemishes and the marks as I'm showing you here how we do. And then, but I'm going to speed the video up so that you don't have to sit through watching me remove every single little blemish here. And then I'll come back to you shortly and I'll show you some other little tricks. Okay, so now we've got rid of most of the little blemishes, the little marks. I took out just the little trees that were just behind the horizon, but I'm going to leave this little patch over here. I think that works very, very well. I think we're pretty well got all the little bumps and marks out. And now I'd like to remove this drain. I could use the remove tool, but what I am going to do is I'm just going to go up to the lasso tool. So I'm just going to run the lasso tool around the area that we want to remove, across the bottom there, and then just back up here, then join back up. So to use generative fill, you just highlight the area with a selection. In this case, we use the lasso tool. We then just click generative fill. Now, if this little box doesn't turn up on your screen, you can just go to Window, and then your contextual taskbar is what you want to tick, and it will appear on your screen. So if I turn it off, you'll see it will disappear. If I go back into Window, contextual taskbar, there it is. So I'm just going to click generative fill. Now I'm not going to write anything in here because I just want it to think about removing this line. So I'm just going to say generate, and it's going to send the information off to Adobe. They'll process it on their computer, on their main servers, and then send it back to us with some options. So there is still a lot of discussion going on about the tokens that you would be charged for using generative fill. Currently, Adobe still haven't brought that into play. So at the moment, generative fill is still part of your package, no additional charges. So that's option 1, that's option 2, and that's option 3. So I'm somewhere between 2 and 3. I like the light patch at the top there coming through. I also like 3, but I'm going to go with 2. So happy with that. Just want to tidy up this little bit here as well, just so it doesn't draw too much attention there. So again, I'm just going to click generative fill. I highlighted it using the lasso tool. I'm going to click generate, and it's just going to generate that that area for us, give us the options. Now, normally I would speed the generative fill up, but just showing you roughly how long it takes to do it in real time, so that you can see what happens. There we go. So just move this out of the way. So option 1, option 2, option 3. I think option 2 is the preferred one. So I'm going to be happy with that. I'm just going to bring all 3 layers together because I want to continue to use the remove tool just a little bit more. So I'm just right click on any layer and then just merge visible, and we can bring those together. I'm just going to go back to the remove tool, going to make it a little bit bigger. Just going to take out a couple of extra marks that we've got, so that we're really quite happy with the finish here. Just going to sort this corner out as well. There's just a little dark bit there. That's looking good. Yeah, a little bit there. Just tidy that edge up there just a little bit. I don't want that standing out as another area there. You can see sometimes the remove tool does just leave a little bit of a sort of blurry area there. So I'm quite happy with that now. Good. So I think that's as much as we want to do here. I like the sky. I'm not going to change the sky here. So I'm just going to go File, Close, and then Save. And the reason I do File, Close, and Save rather than just File, Save, or File, Save As is that I don't want it in Photoshop anymore. So if I say File, Close, and then it gives me the option to save, it takes it out of Photoshop. And I think I talked in my last video a little bit about trying to conserve computer power. If you don't have the most powerful computer in the world, best thing to do is not keep the RAM full. So try to remove as much as possible as you move forward from the previous memory. You could even go down and close your Photoshop as well to remove it from memory. Just keeps plenty of memory available for the work that you're doing. Okay, so we're back in Lightroom now. So we're just going to do the final sort of take on this. So I want to do a little bit of dodging and burning. I'd like to darken the areas that are darker, maybe lighten the areas that are lighter. I'm just going to pop a little bit more vibrance in there, really make that green pop. I'm just going to back the clarity off just a little bit. Can you see the difference that makes, literally going from plus to minus? It just takes a little bit away. You know, you could argue that if you want those deep color differences, you could just use more clarity, but I'm just going to back the clarity off just ever so slightly, back the textures off just also very slightly, just so we've got a soft look here. Just going to go into mask, so I'm going to select the sky. So we'll let that select the sky. There we go. And I want to increase the contrast in the sky, drop the exposure just a little bit so we really pick up on those blues, and I might just drop the highlights slightly and open up the shadows just a little bit. I'm going to go down to clarity, and clarity always works very well on sky, so I can pop a bit more into the sky there. So we've got some real beautiful blue, and you can start to see a little bit of definition in the clouds. I might even add a little bit of texture into those clouds there just to bring them alive just that little bit more. That's very good. Okay, I want to brighten these trees up a little bit because they're quite dark in there. So I'm just going to create a new mask. I'm going to go select objects. I'm going to take a slightly smaller brush, same using the square brackets to the left of the return key. And I'm just going to draw around and highlight over the actual trees there like so. And then the object selection tool will select those trees for us. And what we're going to do here is open up the shadows. So I want to open up the shadows just a little bit more. There we go. You can see that they're popping just a little bit more. I don't want them too bright because I still would like to have that sort of silhouette look there. So I'm going to go around about 35, something like that. That works quite well. I might even just give them a little injection of color as well. So I'm just going to increase the saturation slightly on those. That looks quite nice. Maybe add just a little bit of contrast in there. There we go. So all that's really left to do is the dodge and burn on here. And the best way to do that is, for me, I would create a radial gradient, and I would place radial gradients in and around the main bright areas that you can see here. So I'm just going to turn that radial there slightly and just make it approximately the right size, and then just bring up the exposure slightly there. There we go, not too much. A little bit of contrast in there. And then I can copy that and duplicate the mask, and then I can move that one over here. Same thing, just reposition it, restyle it to suit the area that we're lighting. Duplicate the mask again, select it, move it to another area, and just keep moving these little radial gradients around. Now we're getting a bit further away, and as we get further away, we need to reduce the brightness, because you'll notice that is exactly the same brightness as this, yet because it's further away, there's a sort of optical illusion that makes that look brighter than this. So I'm just going to bring that down slightly, just so it sort of matches in a bit better. And you can see this one was set at 0.65, this one's at 0.18. So there is quite a big difference in terms of the optical illusion. So I'm duplicating again, and I'm just continuing to just add in some more brightness in these areas up here. Duplicate again, duplicate the mask. And the reason you duplicate the mask and not the radial gradient is that you want to be able to alter the mask separately. If you duplicate the radial gradient rather than the mask, then they'll all have to be altered the same way. And if you alter one, they'll all alter the same. So you don't really want to do that. You want to have separate control over each one. So I'm just going to pop one up on this sort of ridge line here. Just bring that in there, just brighten that up ever so slightly. There we go, just bring that up. And that's looking pretty good, to be honest. I think one more, just over here. Just light that area up. Not too bright, just back that off slightly. There we go. And then we want to do the dark areas. So to do that, I think the best thing to do is create another mask. So this time take a brush. Make sure that the auto mask is on. Have 100% feather. And we'll have quite a low flow. We'll go for about 40% flow. And what we'll do is we'll reduce the exposure by about 0.5. And then we'll take the brush, make it a little bit smaller, so we can paint in and around these areas, and then just work your way into these areas, sticking to the darker bits as you go through. And the auto mask will try to compensate for the differences in brightness and the differences in color shade. So it will tend to stick to the darker areas. If you start with the cross in the middle of your brush in a dark area. So for example, here I can wash this sort of darker area here up into that middle area and just sort of build on that a little bit. We might want a bigger brush just to stroke this darker area up the side here, and the same up here. We can just come across there and just darken off those little areas. Just going to come in there with a smaller brush. There we go. And that really does tend to bring this sort of dodge and burn, the contrast between bright and dark, and it can give you quite a dramatic look. So I'm just changing, as you can see, I'm changing the brush size as we go through, just washing in those areas, and I think that's actually looking really good. So going to come out of masks. So that's where we are at the moment. And I'm just going to make some final adjustments here. I think a little bit more contrast will help, just a little bit, not too much. Probably only going to go about +5 points. I could try a minus on the contrast as well, just to see. But I think, no, just about +5 there. I'm going to open up the shadows just a little bit more, not too much, because I don't want those trees to be too bright. That's looking pretty good. Brighten the whole scene slightly. And then I'm just going to do the blacks and the whites as we did before. So hold down the Option or Alt key, and then slide it until you see some white and then back off. And you also look at the histogram in the top right corner. If I go into the whites, you'll see the triangle will come on. And if that triangle's on, okay, that's saying we're clipping. Well, if I then hover over that or even click on it to hold it on, you can see the areas that we're clipping. You can see the red. So I can also, with that triangle clicked on, I can then move the whites to remove the clipping, and you can see there's just a little tiny bit left there. I'm just going to back off just a little bit more. There we go, it's gone, and that has gone, the triangle has gone off. Same with the blue. If I click on it and I move the blacks down, you can see where the black will appear. So we can move that up just so they're just out of just going to get that about there. So I think we've got the contrast, we've got the clarity right. I think the color's good. We could give it a little bit more just to see. Yeah, that's really, really nice. And I have to say, I know this is quite a quick video today, but how do you create a near perfect picture? Something that people would be happy to put on their walls? Well, you don't always have to have, you know, huge amounts of changes. And if the sky's looking good and you've got a good background, this was a great visit to Tuscany. We had a great time. Later in the season, you get much deeper grass here, and it flows with the wind. It looks absolutely amazing. This was quite early in the year, and the grass was only just starting to grow. So I mean, I'm quite happy with this. I'm going to say this one is done. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, then please click like. If you like what I'm doing here on YouTube, I'd love you to subscribe to join me as we go forward. And for now, I'm going to say bye-bye.